Superheroes have always represented the best of humanity: compassion, selflessness, courage, determination, and leadership. Superheroes resonate with human society because they represent the ideals we can all strive towards. As a Muslim American coming from a family of immigrants, there is one superhero that resonates with me most of all, and that's Superman. While I have been a lifelong Superman fan and reader, there is one iteration of the character that truly captures and emulates this ultimate immigrant experience, and that's Zack Snyder Superman. In today's world, superheroes have become a multi-billion-dollar industry. DC and Marvel Comics have translated their heroes from the comic page to screen in beautiful, gripping, and inspiring ways. Both brands amaze us, as well as make us think about society at large. In 2019, superheroes not only provide entertainment of all ages, they also provide a much-needed escape. In this area, Marvel and their juggernaut of the MCU thrive in providing a fun, colorful experience that leave you feeling better and happier than how you arrived. While this is a crucial experience in our flawed, divided, and broken society, it isn't all that we need. Sometimes we need to see our greatest heroes, these utopian mythological figures, go through what many of us feel in real life. In this area, DC and their DCEU films have excelled. In today's society, following an election that actually divided this country further, and race relations that are crumbling deeper, and a state in which many minorities feel vitriol every day, America is at a crucial crossroads. In the last few years, we have seen Charlottesville, Virginia up in flames as bigoted men marched with torches in hand to instill fear in minorities, people of color, and to make a stand against immigration. They spewed hateful rhetoric against Black Americans, Hispanics, Muslims, and Jews. To capture the experience of the immigrant struggle in a macro sense is impossible. But on a micro level, on a personal level, and as a comic book fan, I feel superheroes can be the bridge to capture and understand this picture while also giving us a mirror into our own world. In today's society, we need a mirror looking into ourselves more than we need an escape to block that image out. In this area, Zack Snyder has shown to be truly masterful. From beautifully adapting Alan Moore's Watchmen to directing two socially significant Superman movies in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder gave me, a Muslim American and a son of immigrants, a Superman that truly reflects the struggle I see my people face. My love for Superman came before Snyder's Man of Steel. In fact, Superman was like a role model to me since I was a kid. Throughout my 25 years, I've read countless Superman comics across all eras. As a kid, the best stories were always the fun and colorful action-packed ones. As I've matured into a man, the Superman stories I've come to cherish most are the ones that speak to society as a whole. These stories where Superman tackles a problem rooted in humanity, like Paul Dini's Peace on Earth, or even Action Comics 900, are the ones that challenge issues, address stereotypes, and break ground into making a better tomorrow. These are the stories that have stood with me today. And in terms of Superman films, we did not really get that socially relevant Superman until 2013's Man of Steel. Zack Snyder reintroduced Superman into a more realistic world, and society that has both light and darkness. At its core, Superman's story is one of the immigrant, the story of discovery and finding himself in a world that rejected him. This journey to self-discovery is one that many immigrants face in this country. Fear of the unknown, rampant xenophobia, and disdain for those unlike you exists in a world where Superman, an alien trying to balance two distinct cultures, must reveal himself to save humanity as a whole. This humanity, much like our own, is not happy to accept an alien among them. Man of Steel provided a lifelong Superman fan like me something I never experienced before, a Superman that represents the Muslim American experience. Emotionally, mentally, and psychologically, Kal-El goes through many of the trials and tribulations that a Muslim immigrant would face in a post-9/11, heavily flawed American society. This is a story about a child that was sent to Earth after his parents sacrificed themselves to give him a chance to survive. Sound familiar? Well, it should. Countless immigrant parents are forced to give up everything in order to provide their children a chance to simply survive. What Man of Steel did was reintroduce Kal-El into a flawed society. Our society. Like many immigrants, all Superman wants to do is the right thing with the gifts that he is given, while also trying to find a balance by being caught in two worlds. For immigrants, that might mean struggling to balance multiple cultures, languages, or lives. For Superman, it was balancing unlimited power, discovering his birth culture, and trying to find his place in humanity. Man of Steel was criticized for having Superman exist in a world where he struggles. What many of these people don't realize is Zack Snyder only pointed a mirror to ourselves. In Man of Steel, Superman is forced to find the better angels of his nature and be a shining example while the worst of his own people try to take over the earth. Man of Steel is about an immigrant finding himself through life, becoming the bridge for those two people. For immigrants, this is a struggle that is common, but has not been explored in many superhero films, let alone for Superman. Moving to an experience that rings closer to home is the Muslim American experience. I'm a proud Muslim, and it is no secret that the current climate under the Trump administration has emboldened many Islamophobic bigots to spread their hate and vitriol against Muslims. We recently saw the tragedy in New Zealand, or even a few years back with the Syrian refugee debate that made waves around the country. Many are being forced to take a side. We just saw an Australian senator basically blame the murder of Muslim immigrants on immigration itself. These days, that topic has become familiar. If you're patriotic, do you care about the safety of your country? You now have politicians and media use fear-mongering to scare the country of a looming threat. Even one bad refugee can cause huge destruction for our country, right? Well, that's the problem. Letting hate, fear, mistrust, xenophobia, and blind media belief dictate our society has only further escalated the Islamophobia Muslim Americans face every day. This is where Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman shines above all. In my opinion, Batman v Superman carries the strongest level of social commentary we've seen in a comic book film outside of Watchmen, which happens to be another Zack Snyder film. What makes BVS stand out is that all the problems Muslim Americans go through in this post-9/11 society is actually explored through the most American pop culture icon of all, Superman. Where Zack Snyder's Man of Steel explored the beginning of Superman's ultimate immigrant story, showing him as an outcast of both Kryptonian and Earth cultures while trying to form a bridge between them, Batman v Superman looks at the socio-political aspect of this experience. Media xenophobia and paranoia loom over this film as Superman, while only trying to do good with his gifts, is put under constant scrutiny by the people he's trying to protect. Once again, taking the notion of being scared of your foreign or alien neighbor, the world looks at Superman as a stranger and a threat, closer to what many, including Muslims, African Americans, Latinos, Jews, feel on a daily basis in our current political climate. What Zack Snyder achieves in Batman v Superman is effectively hold two mirrors. One to mirror many minorities, immigrants and Muslims, through the experience of Superman, and another at the very bigots themselves through Batman. In many ways, Batman mirrors the fear you see from the other side of the debate. In Snyder's Batman v Superman, you see Bruce Wayne's regression and literal fall from grace as he gives himself up to the hate and xenophobia many Americans willingly and even unwillingly give into. This was a bold move by Snyder, as he arguably took the most popular and marketable superhero of our time with Batman and flipped him on his head. What this leads is seeing a mirror of what hatred, xenophobia, paranoia has done to the best of us. Batman's fears of Superman are based off of what many Americans feel about immigrants, and you see firsthand what Zack Snyder regressed Batman into, someone who dictates every action through fear and mistrust. The key quote to capture the sentiment:
"That son of a bitch brought the war to us 2 years ago. Jesus, Alfred, count the dead. Thousands of people. What's next? Millions? He has the power to wipe out the entire human race, and if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. And we have to destroy him. But
he is not our enemy.
Not today.
Bruce's quote closely mirrors the sentiment of many Americans, media members, and politicians who adopted to validate their hate for another human being. Bruce's 1% quote about Superman is almost a direct parallel with any bigot's thoughts on immigration, their views on refugees, and Muslims as a whole. In fact, one can even make a direct comparison to what Dick Cheney thought before invading Iraq.
I trace a lot of this back to Vice President Cheney's 1% doctrine. What he said at the time was that if there's a 1% chance that by doing something we would find a terrorist or that this person was a terrorist, we should take that chance.
Zack Snyder used Bruce as a mirror to show our society what we have become. In today's climate of neo-Nazis and KKK sympathizers marching with torches in their hand against immigration, the proverbial mirror only reflects the ugly truth clearer. Zack couldn't leave Bruce in this state because the theme of Batman v Superman is to overcome the darkness inside you and find the hope you can bring to others. He gave Batman a path to redemption, a path many of us can follow to be better people. When Bruce opened his eyes and got to see Superman past his black and white mentality, he found change. When he found out that this man, despite being an alien, is no different than him, he realizes how demented his mentality was. The Martha scene of Batman v Superman is a figurative and metaphorical moment. The idea of having the same mother's name doesn't even scratch the surface. The scene represented Bruce realizing he has become exactly what he painted Superman to be. The way they reconcile the differences is realizing how similar they both are, how human they are. If we took time to reach across the race lines, the religious lines, we wouldn't have the same level of fear we do now. What Zack Snyder tells us is to look at our neighboring cultures, religions, races, and find that deep down we all want the same things in life. That is a true beauty in Zack Snyder's message of Batman v Superman. On a personal level, and as a Muslim myself, I can tell you firsthand that Superman's experiences in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman deeply resonate with me. Today's socio-political climate is difficult for many groups. Many, including African Americans, Hispanics, Muslims, feel the hatred that this country can produce. The current political climate and the horrors occurring both domestically and internationally make our experiences that much more powerful. Superheroes have always been there to tackle these problems in comic books. Superman arrived in 1938, right when the American public needed him, during wartime. Wonder Woman became a symbol for women's rights. Professor X and the X-Men gave a parallel to the heavily divided civil rights movement. Multiple heroes from all races, orientations, religions are starting to be represented in comics, and hopefully soon on film. While it is always a needed reprieve to escape into a Marvel movie where the looming threats of our real society don't interfere with the pure joy and happiness of the film experience as a whole, we also need films that use these heroes to give us a direct mirror into our society. For that, we all need to give an applause to what Zack Snyder has been able to accomplish. We don't always want to see our heroes fall from grace to show us the ugliness of our own society, but the reward when they do find the better angels of their nature is that much better. As a lifelong Superman fan, I've read, watched, and experienced countless stories and epic moments from the character. Superman speaks very much to who I am now and how I've matured. Zack Snyder's Superman is the most universally relatable version of the character, and its social, political, and cultural significance will hopefully be appreciated more over time. I think the best way to end this essay is to leave you guys with a quote from Jarrell. Hopefully we can all take something from it. Thanks, guys.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun, Cal. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders.